Hey guys, welcome. Kubuntu and Plasma Desktop. So this is the latest version of Kubuntu, the Plasma Desktop, and I'm going to be talking about Remote Sync today, Rsync. I did a previous video on Rsync recently. You may have seen that, maybe not. Go look for that on my YouTube site if you haven't. Usually Rsync is only one source to one destination at a time. Today I'm going to be talking about taking several folders and files and copy those over to several different destinations, such as an internal hard drive, and also the fact that you can also copy those to external hard drives or USB sticks. I'm going to use all three examples today. I'm going to show you how to create a script completely from scratch, give you some tips along the way if you've never done this. Welcome, folks. My current video resolution is going to be filmed entirely 1920 by 1080 today. Some of the text I have in here is enlarged, and then as I get into the multiple boxes I'm going to create, I'm going to try to resize text on the fly. Welcome, folks. None of my videos are less than 2 minutes on my new YouTube channel, but they all have timelines and chapters. Again, I encourage that you subscribe and go check out that video on Rsync for Kubuntu. Today's user is Kim. It's just a made-up name. Alt F4 to close this box, and I'm going to open up Dolphin, the file manager, and go full screen. All right, first of all, my backup device has only one folder, and it's going to remain here. Some demo files I have. This backup drive is an internal hard drive. It's actually an NVMe, which is a solid-state drive. It's roughly about 1 terabyte. It's currently only one folder in here. The USB 1 and 2 are my external backup devices. One is a stick, and the other one's a drive. They're currently formatted with FAT32. There are plenty of tools out there to format these kind of devices internally and externally. I do recommend just using simple names when you rename these things. So USB 1, USB 2, and the backup is the internal hard drive. Home folder. Kim, again, is just a made-up name. I have some documents. I have a couple of script files, actually one script file which I'm going to duplicate, some music, and some pictures for demo as far as what I have for copying. Let me now open up this script file. It's only a single, and I'm going to make not only copies but also create script files in this video. This one here is going to do a lot of things. Let me blow up the text a little bit, and then I'll talk about every single statement in here a little bit later. So it's going to actually copy all of these folders over to 3 different devices. All right. With that said, I am going to reduce this box, and unfortunately I have to shrink this down a little bit because I need 3 additional windows. So Control N is the first one. You'll see why in a second. Control N is the second one, because I think it's probably a good idea for you to see how this works. And then Control N for the last one. So the first window I will make my internal backup drive, and the second window will be USB 1, and the third one is USB 2. And then I'll toggle the entries so you can see the paths. Backup again is my internal drive. USB 1 is an external USB drive, and USB 2 is a USB stick, external USB stick. So I'm going to run this file right now. And what it's going to do is make multiple folders on multiple devices. I'll explain what it's doing right now. I'll blow this text up just ever so slightly. So Rsync is remote sync. So it's actually remote syncing a copy of my documents or Kim's documents over to here, and then pictures, and then music, and then the folder called My Junk over to here. Then it's going to step down to USB 1 and create multiple folders here and also here. The last folder it's going to create is a music folder on this device. When that thing finishes, it will be done. Now, using Rsync the first time with a blank slate takes a little bit of time, depending on how many files and folders you have. And I'll talk about why toward the end of the video, why it's a bad idea to make a copy of your whole home folder. But you can certainly do that. But anyways, it is finished. 4 folders here, 3 here, and 4 on the top. Internal hard drive, external hard drive, USB stick. What is this thing actually doing? All right, first of all, let me explain something. So a lot of people actually do this the manual way. They will make and drag their copy of their music folder or whatever folder over to a backup device. In other words, you can also right-click and copy and paste. However, since you already have a copy of this thing, if I were to take that music folder and try to paste it back in here, it's going to complain, isn't it? I have a duplicate folder, and more importantly, I have duplicate subfolders and music. That script actually does an exact duplicate of this over here. So what makes Rsync, remote sync, faster the second time I run this script is it doesn't have to re-replicate everything. But it does go and check every single file in here that I told it to via that script and verify that that copy is over here. If you altered one document in here or added a folder and you rerun that script, it's going to sync it back up to not only here, but if you have it, I have documents set over here, here, and here. It'll send it to all three devices. Same thing goes with my music. Let me give you a demo of this. So I'm going to go to the original home folder of Kim and open up a music folder. And then I'm going to add a hello world in here. So I'm going to open the backup drive, USB 1 and USB 2. All of these are currently exact duplicates of this. Then I'm going to add a hello world folder in here. So just humor me. So Kim added an extra music album called Hello World. It's a very popular one. Never mind. Just a little humor there, folks. What I'm going to do is when I rerun this script, it's going to verify that that acoustic alchemy matches this one all the way down to the last subfolder or last file. If everything matches, it's not going to make any copies whatsoever. It won't even bother. But it will verify that my original folder and subfolder and files match. If it finds one file or folder that doesn't match, it'll sync it up. So when I rerun this script, what you're going to see is Hello World appear on all three screens rather quickly, because the script does not have to actually replicate all these because they're already done. Let me show you that example right now. All you're going to see is a folder being created. But I'm going to tell you what the script is also doing in the background. It's not only verifying the music folder, but the other folders also at the same time. There's Hello World, by the way, on all three screens. All three windows, I should say. However, it also went and checked my Documents folder on all three of these devices. And since I'm only dealing with music for your display, it's also doing pictures on all three devices. If it found that it was a change in pictures also in addition to my music, it would have sunk that also. It would make changes, in other words. Let me give you another example of this in a different way. This is very common. People go and edit documents. Let me go to backup to USB 1 and 2 and open up the document folders here on those three devices. I'm going to take a text file here and alter this file. I can do this to any file in here, but I'm just going to use a text file. It's a recipe my wife had for fat burning soup. That's irrelevant. What I'm going to do is take the contents of this file and alter it. So I'm going to hit a couple of enter lines. And then on line 2, I'm going to type the word test on it. And then save this file. So the reason that Rsync knows that something has changed is based on the attribute of the file. Rsync knows the attribute of your files and folders. And it checks that based on that script. That script will go and look at every single file and folder, and it will see that a text has been altered, and it'll sync it up to these three devices. So let me open this file up for you again. It says test on line 2. Okay, there's nothing on line 1. I'm going to open it up here. This is the same file, but this was the previous backup. It's currently not reflected with the changes. The same thing goes here and here. I just wanted to open this before I do this, because when I'm going to run the script, you're not going to see any changes here. You're just going to see the screen maybe blink. And it's going to be so quick, and you're going to scratch your head going, what happened here? Now I'm going to run it. It's finished. Let me open the file for you. There it is. Test, test. Test, test. And the last one. Test, test. That's the beauty of using Rsync the second time. It doesn't have to duplicate the rest of these, because it knew it. The Rsync utility checks to see if the attributes of these files weren't changed, and they weren't. So it leaves the originals alone. It doesn't have to do extra work, in other words. So far, so good. Now, this particular script that I wrote does a lot of things. You can also write these where it'll just do 1 or 2 lines, which I'm about to do here. I'm going to create one just using 1 line only, and I'll explain what all that stuff means. So what I'm going to do is close these boxes, and we'll just use this one over here. So let's write a script for that. I'm going to have the script actually recreate this folder. So I could also right-click and copy this script, and then when I do a paste, it's going to ask me for a new name. I'll just add the letter 1 to it. You could also do it this way, and then walk over here and open this, and then edit this in here. I'll leave this alone for now. I'm going to walk over to my main application launcher and type in the word text. You should have a text editor Kate already installed. If not, if you want a different text editor, head on over to the Discover Software Center and find another text editor. Do not use a word processor if you've never done this kind of stuff. So Kate is a text editor, okay? So basically it is an advanced text editor, but there's lots of different text editors out there. So I'm going to hit new, by the way. And what I'm going to do is create a script from scratch. I'll blow the text up in a second, but more importantly, I'm going to start typing. So using a standard keyboard and the upper numeric row on my keyboard, I'm going to first depress the shift and the number 3 key. It produces a pound. Holding down the shift, I press 1, it produces an exclamation point. And then I'm going to find the /, which is near my enter key, and type in bin, B-I-N, and then another /, and then bash. If you can type that in, you're good to go. Now I'll blow this up. Make it larger, in other words. Let me open up a terminal box, and you can also look this up yourself. Type in MAN for manual pages and bash. Bash stands for Born Again Shell. And I'll make this larger. And now you can see how it's spelled. Born Again Shell. Q and Alt F4, and I'll continue. You can also look that up on the internet. Now, that's called the bin bash statement. One more time, it's pound exclamation point / bin / bash, no spaces. If you can type that, you're halfway there. Now we're ready for Rsync lines. Rsync is remote sync, and I do actually recommend that you look this up on the internet to get all the different options, because there are a ton of options. You can also open up Terminal and type in MAN Rsync, and you'll find some information there, if not everything that I'm talking about today. Rsync space -A is what I'm using today. That's the archive option. It's also very powerful. You saw how it created folders and subfolders, and how it corrected folders also when you rerun it, and files. It's a very powerful little command there. Space. I need an actual source. What are we going to copy? We're going to do my junk, but I'm going to display it in this screen here. And I'll show you why here in a second. So I'm going to toggle this entry where you see home, Kim, my junk on it. Except when I'm going to type it in here, I'm going to use a shortcut called a tilde. I had a young child call it a worm one time when they saw this. Anyways, a tilde can be found next to the left side of your number 1 key on your upper row if you depress the shift. It looks like a worm, I think. Anyways, I like that term, worm. Tilde, squiggly line. Here's another one. And then a /. And now the name of the folder is my junk, lowercase letters. My junk. If I can spell it right. All right, so all this is a substitute for me typing in home Kim. That's all the tilde does. So this represents the same thing. So far so good, I hope. space. Now I'm going to use the backup drive as my source. I could use the USB 1 or 2, it doesn't matter. I'm going to click in here so I can get a path of what the system calls this device. This is an internal backup drive, but it's called Media Kim Backup here on this line. So what I'm going to do is take my computer mouse and highlight that and right click and copy that line. And then go into here and hit right click and hit paste. Control V. Then I'm going to get rid of that last /. And then I'm going to scroll all the way over to junk and hit the delete key. I had a user ask me this the other day. It seems to work if I put in 2 spaces. It does for a lot of Linux distributions. However, I found one, and I can't recall when and where, because I've been doing this for a very long time, that it did not work right if I put 2 spaces in there. So I've always advocated at least 1 space. But today I'm going to put an extra space and see how we fare. But more importantly, you need to discern, or have the Rsync line discern, your source from your destination, whether it's a single space or 2 spaces. If 2 spaces works for you, great. I am just so accustomed to doing 1 space only. With that said, I'm going to move on. Now I'm going to save the file in my documents script folder. Do I have to save these kind of things in a script folder? No, you do not. You can name this folder X if you like. I just need to give the file a name. I'm going to call that one test1 and hit save. We're still not done yet. This is still a text file. And then I'm going to close. So currently it's saving that to home Kim document script test1. Close and go find your script. There it is. Now I'm going to double click on it just to let you see that it opens up in a text editor called Kate, the one I have installed. If I double click on this one, on the other hand, I get a different statement. I have an execute or an open or a cancel. I don't normally click that. I leave it open because I want the option of opening or execute, or in other words, run. But this one didn't do that, did it, when I double clicked on it? And I'll tell you why it didn't do that, because it's not set to run as a script. So let me right click on it and hit properties and permissions and turn that on. Is executable. Can be ran as a program, in other words. It's a funny statement, actually. Now, if I double click, I have the option of open or execute. All right, so this does what? Let me look at the script. It is going to be rsyncing my junk to backup. Is my junk already here? Yes, it is. So what happens when I run this? Nothing. Unless I made changes. So let me double click on it and hit run, and you won't see anything happening, as it's already here and the subfolders are here. So let me delete it so it has something to do. So now I force it to recreate that folder. Now I created the folder. Okay, so my junk is right here, and the subfolders and the subfolders. You see, this is a couple of layers thick. I'm going to demo something that you're probably interested going, oh, does it only create so many layers? Well, let's go do that. I'm going to open up Kim's My Junk folder and go into the subfolders all the way down to weekly and create a file. I'll just leave the name test file and leave it at that. So it's layered in here from My Junk to monthly to weekly. Let's open it up here on the backup hard drive. Monthly, weekly, currently nothing, right? And that's the new file I just created. The only thing I need to do is rerun that script, this one, or possibly this one. If this script contained, and it does, the My Junk to backup, then this will also do the same work. But I'm going to do it here. Since this one here, sorry, I keep doing that. This will only rsync My Junk, the whole folder, in other words, and all the subfolders and files. And there's the file. 2 layers in. Main folder, open that. Subfolder, open that. Another subfolder, and then the file. So yes, it did go all the way in and copy that. The cool thing about using these kind of things, you can also copy them. And then you can paste them and change their names. And then you can edit them. Now, when I do it this way, I made a copy of test 1 to 2. It retains the attribute of is executable. And all I need to do now is actually add more rsync lines or edit this. One of the two. So if I switch this over to 1, and I want to use this one, but I want to edit this one because I made a copy of test 1, and I want that to be copied to USB 1 instead of backup, all I do is change the tail end. And save. And close. And rerun. And there it is. I could also add more lines. I can add as many lines as I want. It's actually pretty simple to do. You highlight the thing, you right click on it, you copy that, you click in here, you hit enter, and I'm going to use Control V and enter, and Control V and enter, and Control V and enter. You can put as many lines as you want in here. I know they all say the same thing, but you can certainly edit all of these. You can edit every single piece of information in here, including the device names. So I can change that to backup or USB 2, change that to My Music, to photographs, to any other folder name. Or I can just hit cancel. Discard. All right, now I'm going to drag this down here and I'm going to create shortcuts to these things. Right click on your desktop, create new something. I have a couple of ways of doing this, but I'm going to use URL, Universal Resource Locator. You can also create web-based icons using this. I have done that before. But more importantly, I'm going to create a Universal Resource Locator connecting point to this test 2. I'm going to actually call it the same thing as the script, so I know what this thing does. You can call these links anything you want. So Universal Resource Locator link to what? Click that little box that says Open File dialog and click File. And I'm going to go find my script files and test 2 and hit Open. So now the path is to this script file. I'm going to hit OK. It gives me a generic icon. This again is going to be doing an rsync to my junk to USB 1. So let's correlate that with this. And let's get rid of that so it'll have something to do. Otherwise, you won't see anything happening on the screen. So I'm going to rerun that. And all this is a pointer. It points to this file. It's just a convenient shortcut on my desktop. And it just created that folder right here. Because that's what that script is supposed to do. I can also edit the script and leave the actual link alone and edit the script only. I can also create more of these things. I can create links to every one of these on my desktop, also with different icons. So I'm going to delete that again. We're going to use the same one, but this time I'm going to right click and hit Properties and click that where you're clicking on the icon and go pick something from the system. It doesn't matter what it is. I'll pick the alligator and hit OK. This is still a pointer to that script, no matter how I look at it. Okay, that's still the same URL. It's still going to test 2. So since I deleted the folder, I gave it something to do. What happens when I rerun this? Nothing, unless I make a change. So my junk has now been created and all the subfolders to go with it. You can do as many of these as you want. You can put links with different icons to all of your scripts. Again, some of these can be complex scripts. I'm going to blow this back up. Or it could be simple scripts. All of these do a job. And more importantly, the only thing you need to do is when you write your rsync lines, is they're all using the -A. I'm using the option of A for archive today. and they all use the tilde, meaning home folder, but the name of the folders are different. So in this case, the document folder is doing that to 3 sources. It's going to backup USB 1 and 2, and then pictures is going to not only backup, but to USB 1 and 2. I'm just showing you the versatility of using some of these kind of scripts. And this is doing music to back up to USB 1 and 2. And then my junk, I think there's only 2 folders on this one. I could add an extra line in here because this is only doing my junk to backup and USB 2, and it's missing USB 1. So I could also fix that by adding an extra line in 13. All I need to do is actually grab a hold of this line right now and copy it and click 13 and hit paste and change that to 1. And I'm ready to go. All I got to do is save now. And now it'll make, as soon as I do this and rerun the script, it's going to do my junk to 3 devices now. Backup, 2, and 1. It's that simple. Again, you can write your little shortcuts, changing the icons, even changing the name if you like. And then you can also write it here, change the script, or not even use these things and run the scripts directly from your whatever folder you save these into. Anyways, folks, Alt F4, Alt F4, Alt F4. Thank you for watching. Take care.